there's Craig Murray of EOS Blocksmith.
Hey, Craig. Good to see you, Craig. You probably can't quite hear us yet. There he is.
I gotcha. How's it going, guys?
Hey, doing well. Good to meet you.
Good, good.
Hey, Craig.
Yeah.
Hey, Blue Jays.
And you're with EOS Blocksmith, and where are you based out of?
So we're distributed. Two of our members are here in Oklahoma City, where I'm at, and then a couple of our members are in Oakland, and then we have another in I don't know if it's Menlo Park or Palo Alto, but the south in the Bay, and then we have a member in Phoenix. So I think it's Phoenix. So all over the place.
Nice. And what is your background? You probably know our show format by now. I've talked to you many times in Telegram. Do the who, what, where, why, when. There's Shaw. Good to meet you, Shaw. He's got his Captain America shirt on.
I don't have a cool EOS shirt yet, so I figured I'd just wear one of my superhero shirts.
Hey, Shaw.
Gotta love it.
Hey, how are you? Blue Jays.
Blue Jays loves to talk about the latest Avengers movie that came out.
Yeah.
Did you guys see
I
it?
saw it opening night. Yeah, opening night, man. I was one of those geeks in line to watch it first night, dude.
All right.
But you're actually a Hulk guy, right? You're not Captain America. You're all about the Hulk.
I was deciding between my Hulk T-shirt and my Captain America T-shirt, but I like this one a little better. So
you don't want to scare anybody away. I got you. All right.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'd love to meet you guys, learn more about you. Craig just talked about you got Oklahoma distributed team. Can we hear more about you guys, EOS Blocksmith?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Craig Murray, and I've been a software engineer for 20 or so years, mostly in video games. Majority of that in C++. And about a year ago, I was hanging out with a mentor of mine named Gary. And Gary said to me, hey, man, well, Gary he's a retired software engineer, so he knows tech. And he said, hey, man, why don't you check out these cryptocurrencies? They're kind of cool. I was like, Bitcoin, which I'd heard about. He's like, well, look at Ethereum. So you can actually write code that runs on this thing, like an application, right? So I'm a software engineer. I'm like, oh, that really sounds cool. All right, so I do the deep dive, and my wife can attest that all my time has gone into blockchain since, right? Mm-hmm. So several months later, I'm talking to Gary again. I'm very excited. I'm like, oh, there's this platform, and it does this, and this other platform does that. And he says, yeah, hey, man, have you checked out EOS yet? And I saw my list. I'll put it at the top of the list. So I look at EOS. I look into the tech, right? And I see DPoS with massive transaction capacity, and I see public key retrieval, and I see multiprocessing and staking for resources and side chains, and holy cow, EOS is so far beyond anything anyone else is doing in terms of their technology. This is really remarkable. So then I start looking at the governance, and I see some of the writings of Dan and Thomas Cox and others, and I see the first blockchain to release with a constitution, which binds us to international third-party arbitration. Like, this is incredible. This is so far beyond anything anyone else is doing in governance. Now I'm really excited. Gary was smart. So then I looked at the community. I joined the Telegram groups, and that really sealed the deal. I'm so blown away to everyone in the community. Thank you all for everything that you're doing. I have never seen, not just in blockchain, but anywhere in my life, the kind of such a huge amount of brilliant people who are operating collaboratively and cooperatively and with courtesy and compassion. And it's just truly remarkable. So at that point, I knew, that's it, man. I am going to move my career from video games into EOS somehow. Whether that's, I don't know how. I don't know when, how long it's going to take. Whatever it is, I'm going to work in EOS. This is my home now. And the next morning, like when that thought dawned on me, and that was it. The next morning, I went to my first ever cryptocurrency meetup. And so I get to the meetup, and I've been studying EOS for a couple of months now, and I'm preaching the gospel, right? I am selling EOS. And the meetup happened to be organized by a man named Verbis Counts, right? So Verbis has 50 years in tech. He was teaching Fortran to the U.S. military in the 70s. He was at Bell Labs in the 80s. Those of you who know your tech history know what that's about. He's been there and done that. And so he bites on the EOS sale. Like, he gets it too. He drinks the Kool-Aid, and wow. And so we become friends, and he invites me out to lunch, and we get to talking as tech nerds do. And he says, hey, I want you to meet my son, Shaheen. We should all three have a conversation. So maybe Shaheen can take the story from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, I just want to say thanks, guys, for having us on the show. Longtime listener, excited to be participating for the first time in your video show.
Thanks.
So a little bit about my background. I definitely come to this space from background. I'm a physician by trade, a head and neck surgeon to be specific.
Wow.
And but I've always been a tech geek, you know, kind of like a superhero geek as well. Like I was telling you earlier, I've always been kind of a tech geek. And so about 5 years ago, 2013, I discovered Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and by it. And I think myself, like most of the people that kind of fall into this space, it was like this rabbit hole that just kept getting deeper and deeper and more expansive. I was kind of reading about blockchain innovations every chance that I could get, every day, in between patients, after surgeries. So I really kind of just fell in love with the technology and the potential it had to really change the world and make the world a better place. And so I kind of started developing this reputation around the hospital amongst my peers that I had this like alter ego. Like in the daytime, I was this you know, little kind ENT surgeon, and then at night I'd like don my blockchain cape and turn into a blockchain vigilante, the way I was evangelizing all this stuff. And then about a year and a half ago, I moved to the Berkeley area, and I was lucky enough to apply and join this organization called Blockchain at Berkeley. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or heard of it, but it's a student-run organization, but they are doing phenomenal work in terms of blockchain development and research, blockchain education, blockchain consulting. They consult with some huge companies like BMW and Airbus and stuff. And so started getting my hands dirty on some blockchain projects. We had some awesome blockchain conferences, and I started rubbing elbows with the likes of Zhao Hongfei from the Neo platform. Joseph Poon came out and spoke, and we even hosted a little conference for the SEC because they asked us to host a conference so they could talk about their policies on ICOs and stuff like that. So really, I was kind of just diving into the space, and somewhere along that route, I came across the BitShares platform and the Steemit platform and DPoS, and then kind of learned about Dan Larimer. And I still remember watching like the first Dan Larimer video that I saw online, and just being blown away by just his intelligence, and not only like his understanding of where blockchain technology was and what it could do, but what foreseeing, I guess, ahead of what I thought everyone else at the time or in the space was really doing. And so naturally, I was super excited when the EOS platform came out. And then right around the same time, I get a call one day from Dad, and he's like, I just met this guy named Craig Murray at a meetup, and we have an idea. And that's kind of how EOS Blocksmith was born.
Wow.
That's a great story. I was enjoying every second of that from you guys. Thank you. Go ahead, Bluejays.
Yeah, it's like the origin story, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about Blocksmith and what you guys are up to and what it's about, and your sort of your concept behind what we were talking about yesterday a little bit, so let the viewers know.
Okay, yeah. So Blocksmith has a little bit different model. To sum it up in a sentence, we are going to take no money from anyone else, and we're going to give no money to anyone else in EOS. So let me break that down a little bit. First, taking no money, right? So we're 100% self-funded, and we're going to stay that way, right? And that the purpose of this is to avoid conflicts of interest, right? So just to sort of give you a small idea, it only takes 7 corrupt block producers to subvert the arbitration system. So let's say you have a huge whale who owns a lot of EOS, and he has a block producer node, and he invests in other nodes, and they create a cabal. And then someone says, you've broken the Constitution. You own too much EOS or something, right? We, the community, create an arbitration case. The arbitrator says, yes, you violated the Constitution. He creates an order and says, we're going to punish these guys and award damages. That transaction goes to the block producers, and 15 of 21 must sign it before that arbitrator's ruling is actually enacted on the chain. So it's very important that large interests don't have financial influence or control over block producers, right? And a lot of other block producers agree with this. But then the second part is potentially more interesting, right? Which is we're going to give no money to anyone else in EOS. That means, primarily, we're going to give no venture capital or donation or other kinds of monies to any DApps or other block producers or et cetera, right? We're going to create a financial firewall around ourselves. So the reason for this, let me give you a couple of different angles on it, right? So first, a couple of guys have a cool idea for a DApp. They create a company. They have a website. They have a prototype. Maybe they're my buddies, or maybe they meet me at a conference and they say, hey, here's our idea, pitch it, fund us. So I give them $1 million worth of EOS. Now, are they going to vote for me? Probably. I've found that when you give people money, they tend to like you. Mm-hmm. Now, is that vote buying? I don't know, maybe. It's certainly, to me at least, a gray area, right? So even if they're not trying to be bad, they're just kind of led to that. You're going to like people when they give you money. So that's sort of one angle. Now let me take another angle. So Blocksmith is going to do full financial disclosures, which means full. You're going to see every penny we have coming in, every penny going out, where we spend it, who owns what, everything. We're going to regularly do that. And then some period, maybe bi-yearly or however often we're able to, we're going to get a third party to come in and audit us, an objective third party, make all of that public, right? So if we are giving $1 million to this DApp, then if we're going to do a financial disclosure, they have to do a full financial disclosure too, right? Because that's where the money's going. So if they don't, then, okay, we do a full financial disclosure, and you see Craig Murray makes $100,000 a year from Blocksmith as a salary. But he's also a consultant on DApp Guy over here. He makes another $150,000 a year as a consulting fee. He maybe works, maybe doesn't. We don't know. We don't even know that Craig Murray is being paid by these guys because they're not doing a financial disclosure. And equally true when you're taking venture capital. If you're taking money, and the guys giving you money are not disclosing their whole business, everything that they're doing, then you don't really know. You don't know where the influence is coming from. It's all a bunch of sort of potential for corruption and collusion and conflicts of interest. So, and now let me give you one third way, right? A third angle at this. Let me ask you a question, Kev and Bluejays. What is the primary skill set of the members of a block producer group? What are they good at?
Tech stuff, producing blocks.
Tech stuff. They are super nerds. This is a very difficult piece of software. I mean, it's, every block producer group needs at least one rock star level guy, if not more. It's hard to do it well, to do it right, as we are all learning. Takes a lot of skill, a lot of horsepower from the tech geeks. So, and I mean nerds in the most loving way, being one. So that's the skill set. That's what we need as block producers. We need to do the best at that. Now, what is the skill set for taking millions of dollars and finding startup companies to invest that money in? That's called venture capital management. And that's a very specific skill set, right? So if you're going to give your block rewards away to other DApps, for example, you could just, hey, this one's cool, here's some money. That one's cool, here's some money. Woo, everybody gets money, party, block rewards for everyone, But if you're going to do it professionally and seriously, as most block producers would, I hope, you would probably hire a capital management expert who has decades of experience in the networking and knowledge and experience of deploying capital, overseeing that capital, holding companies accountable, someone who understands the industry and is a specialist at capital management, right? So those are two completely different skill sets. And I'm not sure that it makes sense to ask block producers to do both of those extraordinarily well. And so for those reasons, I could probably go on. Those are just a few angles. But for those reasons, right, we're not going to give anyone any money because, it leads to conflicts of interest, and it prevents us from doing full financial disclosures. And because we're not venture capital management, we're 6 people on our team now. 4 of them have at least 20 years experience in tech, and 2 of them are doctors. So nobody knows how to do that. We'd have to hire someone. And so that's kind of our approach. Now, I know I've talked for a minute. I'm going to go one more step, and then I'm going to shut up and let you guys talk for a little bit. The question that this goes to next, usually when we tell people about this, is, well, what are you going to do with all those block rewards, right? Well, yep. Simple answer. We're going to burn them. So I want to address this a little bit because there's a little bit of, I want to make sure everyone understands how this really works. So within the ecosystem, there's essentially 2 forces affecting the token value. That's inflation and deflation. So inflation is when you print more EOS, and that reduces the value of all of the tokens already in people's wallets. So you print more, value goes down. And that's sort of a cost to the network. So in contrast to that, when you burn tokens, you eliminate them from circulation, and it increases the value of all of the other tokens in any wallets in EOS. So, and I'll give you a quick example. So 2 days ago, we learned about Dawn 4, where Dan has proposed a change to the RAM staking mechanism, whereby when you buy and sell RAM, you will be taxed 1% on the purchase and on the sale of your RAM. So that is a revenue source to the chain, and many block producers are very happy about that. Some groups wrote a really cool article talking about how that can offset the block rewards. This was awesome. And what is block.one doing to take that tax and give it to EOS? Well, they're burning it. That's the mechanism that you use when you want to give the money back to everyone fairly and impartially and completely equitably. You burn it. So that's what we're going to do. We will then be easily vetted by companies because we have no money coming in from outside except from the network. We have no money going out to other organizations. We have our operational costs, salaries and colos and upgrading and hardware and some small travel expenses. We have a healthy but modest profit, which you'll see. And that's pretty much it, right? The tokens that are burned. That's the 3 things. So that's our approach to it anyway. Now I'll shut up for a little bit.
What is your motive to keep the profit at the minimum, and how are you determining what sort of rate it is that it's modest?
That's a good question. So our rule of thumb is if other block producers that are making similar money to us and also keeping their costs down, internal costs down, not paying people outrageous salaries. But if other people are doing disclosures and they're saying, look, we're giving $3 million to these DApps, we're going to burn a relatively similar amount. We don't know yet. We don't know how fast the network will scale. We don't know what the hardware cost is going to be even in August. Plus, before we burnt any tokens, we will go publicly with some kind of we need we need a capital reserve, obviously, before we do anything. Just because if the token crashes, we don't want to go out of business because we burnt tokens in July, right? We're going to get to that, and we'll lay out exactly how we're going to do that, and we're going to listen to feedback as well. So we can't say, well, profit won't exceed such and such percent. It's premature to even take a guess like that. So we're going to try to do what's right and fair, and give back directly to the ecosystem rather than take that value and use it elsewhere outside the chain, like give it to charity or whatever. We're going to give it to the token holders by burning our excess rewards. Hopefully that answers your question.
Does.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on that just a little bit, I think there's 2 ways that block producers are looking at this. One is, hey, we can invest in this ecosystem and grow this ecosystem for everyone by investing in dApps and some of these other projects that they're working on. And I think we're just taking a different approach where we say, hey, look, rather than say, hey, presume a paternalistic kind of point of view and say, hey, we can take the EOS value and do the right things. Trust us with your money, and we'll invest this the right way. We're just saying, well, why don't we just burn the extra tokens, keep the value in the system and kind of in the most equitable way, let the ecosystem kind of grow and thrive in the direction that people and people with initiative want to take. So.
Wow. To me, that sounds awesome. I mean, I like the fact that you guys are really taking the fact that a block producer is a utility to heart,
Yes.
right? And you're making the most of that. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. And you're doing one skill and you're doing it well. And that's what we all want from block producers. That's pretty unique. That's great. Huh.
Yeah. Guys, so can you tell us a little bit about what kind of events you guys got coming up? Do you have anything on the horizon? Anything that we should know about you guys moving forward?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one. So the biggest thing we're working on right now is we are helping to organize and promote the Tulip Conference that's coming up in June. It is a big blockchain conference, and it's got a huge emphasis on EOS. EOS is kind of highlighted throughout. We're going to have an EOS Dev Camp there. Thomas Cox is coming to speak, and we're also having a block producer summit, essentially an EOS block producer summit. So we're going to have lots of different block producer groups coming to represent exactly kind of what we were talking about today. Different viewpoints, their different takes on how they want to contribute to the ecosystem, how they want to practice their block producer business. And so we're really excited to kind of be promoting that and being involved with that. I'm not going to say we're a star in that process. There's a lot of other people contributing to that. We've got EOS 42 is playing a huge role in it, EOS Detroit, EOS Tribe, and some of the EOS SF meetup organizers. But we're kind of playing our part too. And I think I just heard yesterday from Bluejays that you guys are coming too, so I'm super excited to meet you guys in person. So that'll be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of a newer development, but we're really pumped up to go meet a lot of you guys. We described it last week. It sounds like a summit, the first EOS summit in some ways.
Yeah, it feels like that, and it's totally going to be like a celebration of the launch of the mainnet. Hopefully, by June 7th, we'll be just throwing down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll also be at we'll also be in Consensus next week. So if anyone is around that area, we'd get some coffee or something. Hit us up.
Cool.
Yeah. So everybody else who's out at Consensus next week, give Craig and Shah a ping. Guys, where can we reach you guys, and where can we find out more?
EOSBlocksmith.io. That's where you start. We do regular Medium postings where we try to sort of present some of our ideas and comment and commentary on things going on in EOS. We believe that while we're not going to give anyone money in EOS, it's very important for us to be very active in the community, to know everything that's going on in EOS, to have an opinion, to state that opinion so that people know where we stand on things. So radical transparency means something to us. We are believers in that. And so we want to try to do that as well as much as we can. So Steam, Medium, Twitter, Telegram. We have a Telegram channel as well. You can join us there. Ask us any questions you got. We're going to do an AMA on one of the Reddit AMAs that's coming up, I think, the 25th of May. So
awesome.
Cool. Good deal. It's really great to meet you guys in person. I know that you have a unique proposition, and actually it sounds pretty interesting. So thank you guys for coming on and really sharing it. And,
thank you for having us. And I want to say before we sign off, you guys have done an extraordinary job. You really have. It's been things are going very well for EOS in my opinion, and you guys are directly responsible for a lot of that. So thank you very, very much.
Also, we mean that.
And we know that there's an arbitration meeting coming later.
Yep.
And so we wanted to say we have a question for Thomas. Are there any rules or regulations being put in place to ensure that arbitrators are not on the payrolls of DApp companies or block producer companies or other interests? And also, are there any rules and regulations about arbitrators having personal investments in EOS or apps or DAX or anything else in the ecosystem?
That's a great question. I've talked a little bit with a future potential arbitrator, I believe, and there's been that same concern, wondering about conflicting interests, and you guys take a very strong stance on it, and I would think for arbitrators the same would have to be true. So we'll see. Yeah,
I hope so.
Cool.
I thought
Thank
of
you,
a
guys.
I thought of a cool character, you know, with your gaming background, Craig, and Shaw with your love of Avengers. How about, you know, Thanos? How about Thanios?
Yeah. We've been looking at artists, so we'll have someone mock something up for us.
Right? With
Yeah.
that glove and all those diamonds on there. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys already have the guy hitting the hammer on that block. So, yeah.
Yeah, we got our like magical blocksmith image, so we'll work on that.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
It was a pleasure having you guys on.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
soon.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
See you guys.